And now you'll excuse me, but I have other miracles to accomplish, and not much time to devote to people in your condition.
Take it easy there, Doc. I'm with the Freeborn Blades, not one of your refugees.
You could be Blackstorm himself for all I care. Now get out of my way, I have things to do. Haven't you anything better to do than bother me?
Hang on a sec. The steward himself sent me here to give you a hand.
Wonderful. I've been after him for months to get me some help, and he sends me an armed ape. You practice medicine, I presume? Your tools seem rather barbaric.
Listen, if you show me the recipes, I could probably help you cook up some remedies for these people.
Good idea, and it would be my pleasure to help you.
That's very kind of you. Unfortunately, what we are missing most are the ingredients. In fact, there is something that you could doubtless do for me. I'm worried about my assistant Haman. I haven't seen him for a while now, and I fear he might have gone into the swamps to look for the plants I need. We're forced to venture further and further in to find the plants we need. With all that's been going on lately, I forbade him from going back out alone, but the boy is nothing if not stubborn.
Stubborn? Yeah, I hate people like that.
Please find him. He's a good boy. He's done nothing but help others since he arrived. Without him, the House of Healing would be a house of death.
If I'm gonna be slogging through the swamps anyway, might as well take a look around and try to bring back the plants you need too, right? You got any drawings or descriptions?
Yes, that's a good idea. I would be grateful to you, but above all, try to bring back my assistant Haman in one piece. He is your priority. For the rest, basically, I need food, medicinal herbs, and of course, I wouldn't say no to a few pre-prepared potions. All of our stock seems to disappear so quickly. I'll give you the parchment that I made for Haman to help you recognize the specimens I need. He knows them by heart now, after so many trips.
Right. Plants, potions, chow, and one assistant. If I come across any elven tea, would you like a cup of that too?
That would be lovely.
I'd like to see what you have to sell.
Vulcan, unless I miss my guess. What brings you here?
Let's talk about your healing house. I found you a few health potions. Ah, shit. I don't have enough yet. I'll be back later. I'd like some information about the village and its inhabitants. So what do you think of the steward?
Oh, don't get me started on that.
Too late if you ask me.
If I were you, I'd be wary of him. He is not as honorable as he would have you believe. Know that before the war, he was just a lackey, bowing and scraping before all the people of power that passed by. Due to a superior's mistake, he thinks he's in charge now. He's a latecomer, nothing but an opportunist, ready to do anything to keep his little piece of power. I've had the misfortune of experiencing his sense of priorities. When he no longer has a use for you, he lets you know you're not welcome.
I can't say I disagree with you there. This asshole treats everybody like his personal slaves.
For the moment, he treats you well because you serve his needs. This might not always be true, and then your lives will be threatened.
He'd go that far?
I didn't found the House of Healing alone. It was with my husband, Ron. He was not a great warrior, nor a renowned strategist. His only gift was for healing. He was my teacher before becoming my husband. The steward welcomed us with open arms. We took care of his men, his villagers. Then the refugees started arriving in greater numbers. Too many for Chambriad, who ended up closing the gates and pretending that these people simply didn't exist. Ron was furious. He tried to make him understand that he would heal everyone, no matter what. And if the self-proclaimed leader of the village wasn't capable of taking care of anyone other than himself, that he would do it. A few days later, I came back from the swamps to discover Ron in agony in the healing house. He had been poisoned.
You think this was the work of the steward?
Who else would have reason to kill him? Everyone loved him and counted on him. Chambriard thought that without him, the healing house would close and that the number of refugees would diminish naturally. Unfortunately for him, I will continue my husband's good work even unto my dying breath. He gave me an even greater reason to keep going.
This healing house is a waste of time and resources. These people are but dead weight.
Who are these refugees you're helping?
They are the outcasts of the war. Those who didn't have the privilege of dying in combat or who lack knowledge of the arts of the forge. No one wants them. If I don't help them, nobody will.
You're doing the right thing. Taking care of them is good for everybody's morale. The ones who do the fighting want to know they aren't doing it for nothing, and that their people won't be abandoned while they're gone.
That is far from the only reason. But I'm very happy to hear you say it.
What did you do before the war?
Before the war? Please don't tell me you're naive enough to believe that this war only started 10 years ago.
That's what everybody says.
I come from Shorelin, a faraway land in the north that the Ice Lords probably wiped off the map some time ago. Because no one is left to write the history books, other than a fanatical cult more interested in arcane magic than in human science or medicine.
That's just not fair. The Red Scarves are interested in every kind of knowledge. Each has his own speciality, of course. But the war has simply imposed certain priorities. And what is more important, we are not a cult.
If you say so, young lady. The fact remains that the war is far more ancient than that. For as long as I can remember, I have always known war. I was only just learning to walk when Marshal Winters invaded my homeland.
I have heard of this Ice Lord. Winter's the Bloodthirsty.
I wandered along the main roads for years, always heading further south, staying just ahead of the advancing Deadwalkers. First with my sister, and a family of neighbors. Then just with my sister. Then all alone. Until the day I met the man who would become my husband. A remarkable elf, who taught me how to heal, and how to love, and help those near me. But after years of fleeing, and ending up here in this isolated village so in need of healers, we decided to put down roots. Roan died 8 months ago, leaving me alone and in charge of the House of Healing that we had built together.
I'm looking for a blacksmith. You know where I can find one in the village?
You could go and ask Esael for what you need. He's an elf who lives nearby. He's a rather odious character, but there isn't any alternative really, unless... While speaking with the refugees, I learned that one of them used to be a blacksmith, but he arrived here with nothing other than a dying cow. His name is Renko, I believe. I don't know if he's skilled, and without a forge he may not be much help. But he is certainly much more pleasant than that horrible elf.
Have you heard any rumors about a beast wandering around in the marshes?
They are not rumors. There is something in these marshes, and I have a patient in a coma that confirms it.
Something? What does that mean? Where can I find it?
I don't know exactly what it is. The wounds don't resemble anything seen around here before. What you seek is large, powerful, and obviously has enormous claws at its disposal. The wounded man was found west of the swamps, crawling towards the village. If you really wish to fall upon that beast, that would be a good place to start. But bear in mind the possibility that it may be the beast which falls upon you.
I'll take my leave. See you later.
What can I do for you, Vulcan?
Let's talk about your healing house. I found you a few health potions. Here, I hope these will help cover your needs for a little while.
They will prove very useful, I promise you. And thank you.
Where could I find some food for you?
Sadly, there isn't much choice. You have to go look for it in the swamps, unless you want to bargain for it with the steward. Perhaps he will be more generous with a mercenary than with a simple apothecary.
Where could I find some food for you?
Sadly, perhaps...
I'll take my leave.
Mr. Vulcan, what brings you here?
We'll talk again later.
Greetings, mercenary. What can I do for you?
Can I have a look at your stock?
Greetings.
I have some questions I'd like to ask you. Do you have any idea about what's happening to me?
I'm afraid I may not be able to help you. Your condition is more due to magic than medicine. Your symptoms remind me of certain mental illnesses, where the subject has the impression he hears voices in his head.
And do these nutcases throw fire and have eyes that burn from within too?
You'd be surprised at what they can do. But obviously you're not like them. That being the case, if you study them, you might find some answers. In particular, I'm thinking of the fact that most of these poor madmen end up giving free rein to the darkest side of their personalities. Make sure that doesn't happen to you.
Who's the big snoring elf?
Show some respect, please. That's Prince Arundel.
And?
He's the son of the Elven King, leader of the last army standing against the Deadwalkers.
Yeah, okay. But he doesn't exactly look like he's ready to stand against anything just now. What's wrong with him?
From what I've been told, Relmar brought him here before we arrived. The prince and his men fell in an ambush. Without your friend, he wouldn't have made it out. Unfortunately, he was severely wounded and has probably been the victim of powerful magic. I'm trying to find a cure, but without much success for the moment.
I'll be going now.
Vulcan, you must help me. The prince is dying.
Well, I'm happy to see that my talents as a doctor are finally being recognized.
There's no doubt an explosion would cure him of all his ills forever. But I was actually thinking about your connections with the Red Scribes. If you could speak to them, it would save me having the prince's death on my conscience.
I wouldn't exactly call myself a friend of theirs. But yeah, I can always give it a try. I need your expertise. Will you come with me?
Of course I will. Lead the way.
Sybil, can I talk to you?
Yes?
I need your help. Come with me.
If you want.
Relmar, you got a minute?
Yes?
I have a few questions I need to ask you. Elves are pretty rare. I haven't had the chance to talk to many. Can you tell me more about your people?
We are born in the trees, eat only seeds, and we spend all the livelong days singing.
I get the feeling you're fucking with me.
Perish the thought. Well, it's just that we aren't that different from you humans, despite what one hears. Our civilization is obviously a bit older, so we have had the time to learn from our mistakes. We don't really live in the same rhythm as you do. We move a little slower, and most of us are prone to having at least some respect for the past. This is the reason why we never destroy anything, that we prefer to build on top of things.
I've heard that you are immortal.
That joke has lived for 15 generations. I will never get tired of it. No, we're not immortal. We live long lives, though, much longer than you. We are resistant to poisons, rotten food, and toxic body odor, apparently. Unfortunately, these things do not make us immortal.
Don't elves ever make war?
That's an impression we like to give other people. The fact is, we do go to war, just never against each other. You must understand that, given our long lifetimes, battles are fairly futile. This may well be what has motivated the choices of our king concerning the Ice Lords. But we certainly know how to fight, and you'll see proof of that soon enough.
So it's the prince who gives the orders?
The word orders may not be the best one. We do not submit nor obey easily. Our kings are a reference, wise men who can point out the way. They tend to guide us rather than give us orders. But to answer your question, it is his father, the king, who is the leader of our people.
Who is the elf in the healing house? Is he really your prince?
He is Prince Arundel, the son of our king and heir to the Elven crown. Therefore, yes, he is our king.
How the hell did he end up here?
Prince Arundel led a detachment of the Elven army sent to harass the Deadwalkers. And when he reached Bastion, he fell into an ambush. I got wind of this trap, but by the time I arrived, it was too late. When I caught up to the prince, he was already wounded, and most of his soldiers were dead. Those who survived covered our retreat.
To here?
Yes. The route to Carolthas was too dangerous. I knew about this village and felt that it would be secure for at least a little while. As soon as he gets better, we shall leave for Carolthas. The remainder of the human and elven armies are gathering there. That is where the final stage of the war will be played out.
You seem different from the other elves I've met. Where are you from?
Really? I seem different. And yet I have such pointy ears. And if you really want to know, I actually come from one of the most ancient and noble houses that exists. I'm even linked to the royal family. But I can assure you that I am sufficiently far down the line of succession to be in no danger of being crowned. And my reputation is no help either.
As far as bad reputations go, every mercenary has got one, so we're used to it.
Let's just say that I got into enough trouble to eventually be considered a traitor to my people. When I got involved in the war, I disagreed with decisions made by the king. He thought that this war, like so many others, would not last. That the conquests won by the Ice Lords would melt away like all the human victories before them had. But I thought differently. Right from the start of hostilities, I began to requisition certain resources I felt necessary for those doing the fighting. More food, more weapons, better armor. When my people discovered what I'd done, I was declared an outlaw, and many saw me as a thief, which, in a manner of speaking, I guess I was.
A bunch of cowards. If they had listened to you, we wouldn't be in this mess.
I've been telling myself that for years. But I do understand their point of view. It is flawed, but not entirely thoughtless. They have had some time to prepare their forces and to learn the strengths and weaknesses of the Deadwalker army. This knowledge might allow us to turn the tide of the war, even if it does seem too little too late at this point.
Do you know these swamps?
I've been in this area long enough to have explored a fair amount of it, actually. The region is rather inhospitable, which I suppose is a good thing under the present circumstances.
A good thing? You're out of your mind.
These swamps are a labyrinth. The Deadwalker scouts will never be autonomous enough to find their way to the village by themselves.
That means we should be fairly safe for the moment. At least until a general or an Ice Lord comes to town.
Except that recently, there has been a change in these swamplands. And I must admit that I no longer feel safe at all.
What do you mean?
Something is affecting the swamplands, corrupting the vegetation and the animals. And I have no idea what it is. But anything that grows or lives here could become a threat. So I strongly recommend that you watch where you put your feet.
Let's change the subject. So is the prince doing any better?
He is still in a coma. He doesn't seem much better, no.
I'm going to talk with the Red Scribe's doctor. He might know of a cure.
Thank you.
I'll leave you here. Do you have any idea how to wake the Elf Prince up?
Unfortunately, I don't. I think I've tried just about every remedy I know, but nothing works.
You said just about. I'm guessing that's not by chance?
It's true. There's one formula I haven't tried yet. An extremely powerful solution that requires a certain ingredient to make. An ingredient I don't have.
What is it?
A very virulent poison secreted by the chrysalid queen. But be careful you don't mix them up with the ones you usually see. I wanted to go looking for them myself, but the villagers stopped me. They say they're really dangerous. It seems they can be found along the road we took to get here. And apparently, they only come out at night.
I'll get you some. I'll be going now.
Mercenary.
Can I do something for you?
No, thank you. I don't need anything for the moment.
According to the villagers, there's a beast haunting the swamp, and it's attacked them several times.
I have heard about it, yes. And although I don't have any concrete information about the creature, there are some things that corroborate what they say. Even though we aren't very good at magic, we still feel it. And since we came to the swamp, we have all felt a powerful source nearby. The problem is that the source seems distorted, corrupted. Kind of like the one the Ice Lords use. Only not the same.
I hope for our sake you're right about that. Otherwise we're really up shit creek.
We are very certain of it. But this magic could very well have transformed one or more creatures in the swamp, making them more aggressive, bigger. Who knows? Something to frighten the villagers, in any case.
So you're telling me the thing is magic and corrupted? Brilliant. Just what I needed. Tell me more about your order.
Before the war, our main objective in Creed was to collect and save all kinds of knowledge. We had a presence everywhere on the continent, and had chapters in every major city. We studied and preserved all possible sources of knowledge there. We also dispensed information and care. Because even though we're not the greatest magicians, our knowledge let us come to the aid of the wounded and the sick. I could of course relate our history in detail for hours and hours, but I doubt that is really what interests you.
With all the knowledge accumulated by your scribes, you must have learned something about the Ice Lords, surely.
We do indeed know some of their secrets, and a good part of their history.
Anything we could use to fight them?
We thought we'd found a chink in their powers that our ritual was supposed to let us exploit. But you saw the result.
That's one way of putting it.
That said, I'm beginning to wonder if we haven't involuntarily brought about the conditions for their end.
I'm not following you.
What you have within you could well turn out to be their doom. Even if I don't have the faintest idea of how or why. And unfortunately, as long as we don't know more about it, we also have to fear that it might lead to our doom, too.
I'll be going now. There should be enough food. We'll see what Marana says when we get back to the healing house.
Ho there, Powder Man. You still didn't manage to blow yourself up? Pretty quiet around here, huh?
Yeah, too quiet for my taste. Do you really imagine the Dead Walkers are going to forget about